you're familiar with Oklahoma or Tulsa to be exact, but it has very historical roots. Uh, I came up through foster care. I was taken from my mother at a young age, and by the time I was about 9.5, I was placed with my grandmother. Okay,
Okay.
and that was a big experience. Because grandma, she came from a whole new different generation, and she was very strict. So being with her was very difficult, but everything was good up until about the age of 15, I'll say. I was just getting ready to go into high school and began to want to rebel. I'll be honest with you. I was up under
Sure.
so strict rules with my grandma, and I was a straight A student and all that good stuff. And I'm going to the top school in the city, and the kids that I'm around, they got things that I don't have, right? Because grandma was struggling to take care of us, and a lot of the other kids, they were spoiled, suburban kids, and I'm seeing things, and a lot of them had come from two-parent households and stuff, things of that nature, and I'm seeing the difference. So I kind of began to rebel around the eighth grade, and not wanting to come home or just wanting to be outside. I didn't get to go outside when I was little a lot. It was come straight in, do homework, start doing the chores to get ready for tomorrow. With other kids is outside running around, playing, and stuff like that. So right around eighth grade, ninth grade, I was rebelling. Started getting in a little trouble. Uh, got in, fell in love with weed. Started smoking a lot of weed at the time, and began to make some bad decisions. I ain't gonna lie. One of the worst decisions I made was I was with some family members and some friends, and we was out riding one night, and they decided to go try to rob a fast food restaurant. And at the time, it was like a last minute thought that they had, but I wasn't paying attention to what they was doing and got myself caught up in it. And I ended up being the getaway driver. And we
Oh
got
boy. Yeah.
yeah, we got pulled over. Now I was the youngest person in the vehicle, and they was all over 18, so they went to the big boy jail, and they ended up put me in the juvenile spot. And that's when I really started to see different things and met some more friends in there, and we ended up getting out, and I copped out to an accessory after the fact. And I was a juvenile, so once I turned 18, as long as I kept my nose clean, they was gonna, wipe that off my record,
Yeah.
which they end up doing. By the time I was 19, it took me to be 19 because I was still getting a little trouble being boneheaded. And then what ended up happening was after I got it done with that, I was good for about a couple years. And then, man, I got heavier in the streets, and it started off with a lot of weed, and then it kind of moved to cocaine, uh, but it was mainly weed, a lot of weed. And I end up start taking trips out of town, going to California and things of that nature. I was real quiet with what I did. A lot of people didn't really know me in the streets, but my wife at the time, she was very uh, flashy, I guess you would kind of say, and she was always in locations where it was just a bunch of bad shit going on. So one of her cousins actually stayed next door to a very popular drug house,
Oh,
and she liked to hang out around there. And she would have my car parked around there, and the car was in my name. So any officers going through there doing any surveillance, running plates, it would come back to me. What ended up happening through those types of ventures she was always doing, I ended up getting raided. I got raided by the feds around 2004.
so you were federal.
Yeah, I went fed. Yeah, I went fed.
Okay.
Well, it was state and fed, but the drugs was like 400 pounds of marijuana. So what they ended up doing was my federal lawyer asked the DA to indict me on the marijuana because I had guns and marijuana is what it was.
Oh
And
yeah.
the cold part about the guns though was I had applied through the OSBI to have legally be able to carry those guns. And what had happened was we went and did all the training and everything. We had to submit our fingerprints, and there was like a 90-day window. If you didn't hear anything back in 90 days, they automatically would grant you the right to carry the gun. And this was in Oklahoma around 2004, 2003. The Brady bill had expired or something to that nature. And me and my cousin, when he got approved, like 60 days, he got approved. Mine was kind of delayed. Next thing I know, right around the 87th day, I got notice that they declined me. They denied me. And
Oh
on the
man.
90th day, I was getting raided.
Wow.
So they came and did raid in my house and charged me with all those goods. It was like 5 pistols. And since I had drugs in the house, it was commission of a felony.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now hadn't been in trouble prior to my juvenile case, so when they came and indicted me, it was quite a show. I would have never expected to be indicted or raided. My worst fear was an unlawful delivery.
Yeah. On 400 pounds back in the day before it was legal.
Right. So I ended up getting indicted, like I said. Now they took the weed and had it in the state, and then the feds indicted me on the guns.
Yeah.
And I was young, 19, and they intimidated the shit out of me, had shown me how they could stack the charges on me, made me do about 25 years, five, each gun carried 5 years.
Jeez.
So I hired an attorney, and it was kind of funny because when I bonded out and hired an attorney, people was laughing, like, man, John Gotti, he got indicted by the feds and he went with a public defender. Why is you paying for an attorney?
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I need to be out. I can't do nothing from the side here. I got to get out. So I had an attorney. Now, the attorney I actually used to be the DA in the city. So it's kind of crazy because I don't know if he had a turn of heart, but he did tell me he think he put a lot of innocent people in jail. So now he was trying to work on the other side to help defend people. But I think it's all a money grab. But anyway, he ended up working out a deal with the DA. I mean, I was sitting in the office with him talking about it, and this really heightened me later on in life when I seen the relationship these folks be having, because it's all a game with them. And we were sitting there talking. He was letting me know my options. He was like, well, if I ask the DA to indict you on these drugs, it only carries about 4 years. He said, but over in the state, you're looking at least 10. And I'm like, man, I would rather. He said, I think it would be better for you to do all your time in one location than have to do time here and then have to go do time over there. I was like, yeah, I agree with that. So he said, I'll see if he'd be willing to indict you on the drugs, and we get all this going on. And I'm sure since you weren't trying to fight us, he'll probably include that with the 5 that they was offering me.
Yeah.
So right there, he pulled the phone up, called the guy, and they're laughing and joking, talking about a children's birthday party. Then he kind of forgot I was in the room, was like, oh, well, that case you have with the Wooty Wooty? He's like, yeah. He said, well, I have Mr. Airman right here, and he's wanting to know if you would indict him on the drugs as well. Then he was like, well, how much drugs was it? He was like, oh, about 400 pounds. He said, oh, what's that, about 4 years? He's like, yeah, it's about 4. He said, yeah, we'll indict him on that. So that phone conversation was over. And then, when I had my next state court appearance, my attorney walked in there with me and told the judge to, they're going to dismiss, the feds is going to pick it up and everything. And I walked out the courtroom, and then I say about a year, close to a year later, maybe it wasn't about a year. I want to say about 4 or 5 months, I had to schedule an arrangement to go turn myself in and start my time, man. And
right.
All I know is when I was in that county jail, I seen a lot of people in there that had rap sheets way bigger than mine, and they had less time than I did. So as I was going through that transition of life, I just asked God, I said, whatever it is you want me to learn in here, please let me learn to get out of here. Don't get full time, because I didn't know what I was walking into. But once I got on the facility, which was El Reno, Oklahoma.
I've been there. I went through El Reno when I was heading to Leavenworth.
There you go. That's the transfer center. That's the transfer center is in Oklahoma City, so a lot of people do get stationed there. So I was at Reno. I was fortunate. Now check this out. This is right around when Katrina was going on. Okay, this was 2005, right? Well, I was supposed to be going to Beaumont. Now, if you know about Beaumont,
I do.
They rocking and rolling down there.
Yeah.
That's the gladiator school.
It is.
I was shaking in my boots when I found out I was going there. And
especially for a first termer.
Right. Right. So with the storm coming, they had to shut Beaumont down and start sending people other way. So they redesignated me to El Reno. Perfect. So I was fortunate to do all my time in El Reno. Yeah, once I got in there, I just said, let me just program to make this time go by fast. So I got in, I programmed, I worked on my business associate's degree, and then I got into the electrical department. And I pretty much rolled it all the way out through the electrical to the point where I was teaching it to the other inmates and things. You know how we do all the work there anyway, and the other people just babysitters. So I became a tutor in there. And doing all the electrical work on the facility and things of that nature, man, I kind of got closer to understanding the monotheistic religions of the world and making a designation which one I believe to be the most accurate, and We had a good brotherhood of brothers in there that I was able to link up and just do good time with, man. Never really had no issues. We had a few tight situations where we had to do some type of mediation to keep some raised riots from popping off, but it wasn't.
Bear in mind, brother, you're in El Reno, and I get it. And El Reno may have been a good place to do Fed time, but every prison is dangerous.
Yes,
every prison has stuff jumping off.
Yes, sir.
And when I went through El Reno, I was in the holding facility waiting to transfer over to where I was heading to, and I remember some of the people that were processing that were going to be in El Reno that had been there before, and they said, "Yeah, this is not a cakewalk prison. I mean, you got to keep your stuff in line." And I'll share something with you, Brian. When I first went in the system, I was 30 years old, and I went to a place called Folsom Prison in California. I did state time. And let me tell you, brother, back in the 80s, they were rounding up the Bloods and the Crips and the Norteños and the Sirs. And I mean, it was rock and roll every single day that I was in that prison. And when the reason I bring that to your attention is when I hit the feds are a whole different thing, mostly white collar criminal compared to the blue collar level of state prisoners. And like yourself, where you went into the electrical department, decided to learn something and walk out of there with something. I did my seminary years when I was in federal prison. And then later, I became a certified hospice counselor. And my job for 2.5 years was taking prisoners through the actual dying process. And most of my seminary studies were done in those death rooms. But talk about a humbling experience, brother. The thing is like, you and I both see so many people going through that system that really don't give a damn about betterment or doing something or creating a way to come out and have a different path. Right. So my hat's really off to you on that. I can visualize exactly what and why. Please continue.
Gratitude. Absolutely. So once I got in there, getting pretty good with the electrical. Next thing I know, man, they had a time cut. I got 6 months off because of the crack law. And at the time I had forgotten about it. But when I got raided with the weed, they found like 2 ounces of cocaine as well. And it wasn't really nothing. So I didn't realize the attorney had it in the case. But next thing I know, I'm getting a letter and they let me know that the crack law hit and I qualified for 6 months early release.
Wow.
Shit. I was like, okay, I'll take it,
Yeah.
An attorney. And I was like, see, my attorney actually did me well because he didn't have to put in for that. But he did. And I didn't even finish paying him.
Well, he probably knows you were a good guy too, Brian. I can sense that already. And they deal with people of all personalities. So yeah, good for him and good for looking out for you on that. I like that.
Yes, sir. So I was able to get out early, 6 months, man. From my release, it was like 2010 I got out. Yeah, 2010 I got out. August 20th, 2010.
So how much time did you end up doing there in El Reno?
5 years.
And you did it. Gave him a nickel, huh, brother?
Honestly.
Just enough time to calm you down and make you think about what you're going to do that's right, not wrong.
Yes, sir. Now, while I was in there, the crazy thing is, I did so much reading and learning and stuff, man. And one day we were in the electrical shop and some guys was playing around and he had grabbed a ladder. And I don't know if you're familiar with, but in electrical, we have this tester. It looks like a pen, and it's called a hot stick. And what we do is we'll put it in the plug, and it'll say ding, 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 and it lights up to let us know there's power there. Well, he had one sitting in his pocket, and he went to grab the ladder, and the hot stick started going off. And we looked like, what the hell? We said, let the ladder go, and it stopped. And he grabbed it again.
Wow.
And doing it again. And the first thing in my mind was like, wow, that was non-contact voltage detection.
Yeah.
Like, I know they got that in the free world. So I just kind of blew through my mind. So after I got released and my first job was at a car lot because at the halfway house, they wouldn't let me do electrical work. They were really trying to put me in a situation, force me to go back to prison. It was really sad. They expected me to go get a job like at a burger restaurant. I said, I'm overqualified for this. I've been doing electrical since I've been in prison. Then I'm gonna go flip some burgers for, But
welcome to the halfway house system.
Man, it was rough, man. There was this one lady there, and she just swears she was a sanctified Christian, man. We used to call that woman the devil because she was swearing trying to send people back to prison, man. Yeah. But yeah, that was quite an experience. play by their rules for about 3 months before I got on home confinement. Then getting on home confinement, I went through looking for jobs, and I came across this gentleman that had an HVAC company. And I was completely honest. I've never hid my past from any employment because I want you to know off the top because I'm not going to waste my time. If it's going to be a problem, we're going to move on. But this guy, he respected it, and he was glad to have me. Now, I think he got a deal because after I realized what the job task was, I was like, yeah, he got a good deal, but it's cool because I didn't. He helped me. And he had a job with a HVAC company, but the business was outside of Texas. So I had to get permission from my PO to be able to work for him. He was like, yeah. And he sent me to a place called Elko, Nevada. Have you heard of it?
Know it well. I used to deer hunt there as a kid with my dad and uncles.
Oh, wow. Look at
that. Yep, the Ruby Mountains and the Ruby Marshes.
Right. So I went up there. He was doing the HVAC work for an assisted retirement home. I think it's kind of wealthy people retire assisted living home. And now I'm an electrician. He hired me to run his what's called transmission lines where his units can speak and communicate to each other. So it was a very simple job, but I was the only one doing it. Now this man paid me half up front, then he would pay me half up under the table. Now he was working me 7 days a week, as many hours as I could. He sent me up there. He gave me an RV and he paid me $50 a day per diem.
Wow.
So I was able to sit there for about 4 months and just rack up money. And then when the job was finished, I got in a little trouble. My tools come up stolen at one time, and I ended up getting into a physical altercation with a guy that kept wanting to be an asshole, getting in my business. So he ended up going to sleep on the job after I smuffed him. And the owner called me and apologized because the agreement was I was supposed to work 2 weeks on, and then they was going to send me back to Dallas for a week and then bring me back. Well, I never got sent back home, and everybody else did. So he blamed it on that I was cranky, and at the time, my shit got stolen, so I was pissed off too. And the guy got out of line. So what he ended up doing was that same day he had me a first class ticket back to Dallas, and he was like, "As soon as you get here, man, please come to my ranch so we can talk." So I went there. That man not only refunded me all my money for what I paid on my tools, but he added an extra 10 grand on top of that and everything else he owed me.
Respect.
And he was like, "Man, I appreciate your work." He said, "Like I told you before, after this job," he's like, "I'm retired. I'm moving to Mexico." And that's what I did, man. And he put me in a situation where I was 4 months out of prison, and now I got a nice little sum of money. First thing I did was I went back to Oklahoma and picked my son up and then brought him back to Texas with me.
Beautiful.
And he had been rocking and rolling ever since till he got grown. Now he's grown doing his own thing, but I ended up remarrying and having 2 more children. So now I have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they get to experience.
That's current. That's current age right now.
Yeah, that's their current age right now. My oldest is like 22.
Boy, do you have a plate full. That's too funny.
I can't complain, man. I wouldn't change a thing. But as I came home and left that job and came back to Texas, now I had to get a real electrical job. And I was fortunate to hook up with a good company, and they had a big job at the time. It was like the Cowboy Stadium they was working on. And I got to experience some things there. And then I actually see my first fatality in the workplace. And when that fatality happened, the first thing came to my mind was non-contact voltage detection. If he would have had them gloves on that I've been thinking about, it could have stopped him from getting electrocuted. So once again, this was trickling in my mind. I'm like, but now I know it's somewhere out here. Somebody has this technology, right? So as time began to progress and I moved up in the trade, I started becoming in management positions very quickly. And you being able to leverage technology, because in construction, prior to technology, we do a lot of things on paper and blueprints on the job site.
Sure, of course.
So now things is moving to tablets. So we're able to have everything on a tablet, have access to more information. And I was working in electrical. There's 2 fields, right? There's what we call open shop, where people just generally work for general contractors. Then you have union workers, okay? Yeah. The union workers don't really like the non-union workers, okay? They call them rats, okay? That's what they say.
Go figure.
So the union is the brotherhood, so they're real strong, but they're not really strong in the South here, okay? So They got a bad connotation. It's like what we say about the union people is like they like to hide and seek for $1,000 a week. Meaning they ain't trying to do no work.
Yeah, yeah.
So me coming from open shop and a harder work ethic, I actually ended up joining the union because
Wow.
Facebook came to Dallas, and it's around about 2017 now, and they wanted to build a mega data center down here, right? Now at the time, all I had been really building is hospitals.
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you about hospitals. Hospitals have 7 systems, okay? Of those 7 systems, in the event something catastrophic happens, let's say they lose power from the substation, they got 2 systems that's going to stay on because it's backed up by a generator. It's called life safety and critical systems. Okay, those are
makes sense for a hospital.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And everybody else, they out of there. Now, those they will run as long as someone's there to refuel them. Typically, we got about 72 hours on a good sized generator in the hospital. All right, let's keep this in mind. Now, this is human lives we're talking about in the hospital.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So when I go to this data center, I left one job as a supervisor. Okay.
Wow.
I was running a crew of 150 guys. We're doing a whole 9-level hospital from dirt to a whole working facility when I walk away from that. That's 18 months we do that. Okay. So I take a vacation from my job and I go work for Facebook with my tools. So I'm out there in the field working. Okay. I made money with my tools on, and Facebook with the union, they offered family benefits for free. Okay. So I made more money with my tools on in 2 weeks than I did when I was working as management in the open shop.
Amazing.
So it was a no-brainer. I quit. Went over here to the union, and in 2 weeks I was a supervisor over there.
My God.
So my pay every year that I was out as an electrician, my pay went up every year. It went up. Okay. All the way to when I walked away from it, I was at $160,000 a year.
Okay. Yeah, listen to that, audience. That's an ex-convict. Look where he took it. I love it, brother. Good for you.
$160,000 a year. And then I turned around and walked away from it and got into real estate, and I still ain't looked back. Now,
beautiful.
When I got to Facebook, let me tell you, I seen some shit that scared me. Okay. I read when I was in incarceration, Behold the Pale Horse and
Revelations.
The Unseen Hand. Okay. Whew. So here it is. We're at Facebook. It's supposed to be one building. Okay. Let me tell you what this, because this is gonna fuck a lot of people up. All right. So the one building is the size of a football field. Okay.
That's huge.
Facebook, all these tech companies, they're in a race for what's called data aggregation.
Explain that.
Okay, data aggregation. Okay, typically, let's say in an office building or anything that serves the public that has any type of data technology inquiry where you got Wi-Fi computers, they have a room in there where they may call it the data room or the data closet.
It's a warehouse, data warehouse.
Yeah, but we're talking small just to keep it on where people can relate before I jump to the big shit. Okay, so in any office building, they're gonna have a data closet, just a little room where all the servers and stuff is, and they make sure your network is working. Okay.
Okay.
That's typical, and a data server is about the size of like a DVD player. You know how DVD players are real thin and long. And that's just the data server for a small building. Well, imagine that room being the size of a football field, and nothing's in there but multiple servers on top of servers on top of servers. Okay.
Oh my God.
That's their infrastructure. Now, if a hospital has a couple rooms where they have that, and then I'm telling you, I'm talking about a whole warehouse, you can only imagine the capacity this could hold.
Yeah, that's enormous.
It's enormous. Now, check this out. I also just shared with you, a hospital has 7 systems, and only 2 of those systems are backed up by a generator, and it's only one generator. Well, Facebook have these buildings, like I just described. The walls are 6 inches styrofoam, 2 inches concrete. So that's very insulated wall building. Okay.
Temperature control.
Yes, temperature control.
Yeah.
Because they don't want them to get hot. That's the whole thing. They don't want them to get hot, so they try to keep it real cool in there. All right. Now, on the back side of each building, they got like 30 generators. 30 generators.
That's amazing.
Called redundancy power, meaning they got a backup for the backup for the backup for the backup.
Wow.
And it's being powered by solar power and wind turbines.
Wow.
Okay. Why do you need so much power for data aggregation?
Because they got something else going on, huh, brother?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now we finna go to our conversation. Now, after we would get the building complete to about 80, 90%, they can actually gain occupancy clearance. Okay. Now, this is where shit changed. Whenever we have to go back in that building to do some maintenance work, the security level is prison level. I mean,
wow, really?
They come with servers because they have these little go-karts. It's real dim in there, and everything has a blue light thing. Okay. And they come through on these little portable carts. They're geeks. They're all geeks in here, right? These are geeks. Everybody thinks in glasses, they're geeks.
Yeah.
And when they come on these little carts, you have to turn around and face the wall.
Really?
Yes, we're contract. We have to turn around and face the wall.
Why, Brian? What's going on there?
Now, each one of those servers, one of the upper guys told me personally, it's like each one of those servers you're looking at least $100,000.
Wow.
They come through. So and outside of the security clearance, what goes on Facebook is more than just likes and pictures. You have commerce going on there. You know, there's sales and transactions being made. Everything is being tracked. So it's very serious with them when it comes to that money. On top of that, you have a gentleman who has gotten people to do something very easily that the CIA and FBI haven't been able to get people to do for years. And that's give you all their fucking information.
Wow.
So the data aggregation is more than like some pictures. They are examining you. They are calculating your response and to put you in pots of high probability of what you're going to do when we put certain things in your face.
Would you call that AI?
Well, this is the foundation of the AI. Well, AI is the second wave of technology.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're going through the second wave with AI now. Okay.
Wow.
Data aggregation is them building the platform. Now, this is the thing. The whole motto of the job site for Mark was connect the world.
Yes.
What does that mean? That's one world order.
Yeah.
Right?
Frightening. It means control, Brian.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Now, it was just one job site I was on. They had multiple job sites going on at the same time all over the world.
Wow.
When we would fix an issue, I was fixing a lot of electrical issues, infrastructure things that they couldn't solve. Whenever I would fix it, they would share my information with the other job sites. So they would be, and it was insane. Okay. Now, keep in mind, I'm just the electrical company on the job.
Yeah.
Our cost was over 10 billion for the whole. It was supposed to be in one building. It ended up being 4 buildings, and it lasted for over 3 years.
Wow.
Okay. Money was not an issue. Just to show you how money wasn't an issue. We had a gas facility on site. Okay. All the company trucks would fill up there.
Yeah.
Then some of the trucks have 55-gallon gas on the back. They didn't monitor anything. They don't give a fuck what you do with the gas. Just keep it up here. So for 3 years, I never paid for gas on none of my personal cars. My lawnmower guy would come get gas. My gas is free.
Of course you are.
It was just a great situation to be in. I've never been a part of so much money. Yeah. So going through all of that, after the first building, I would get on the speaker because I have a lot of people that I'm responsible for. And we was all communicating on, speaker. We had our own network. And I would tell them, hey, guys, I don't know if y'all realize what we're aware of, but we're going through the 4th Industrial Revolution, and this is tech. I said, we're actually building our own prison. And here he goes, 10-4 theories. That's like, no, that was 2017 I was telling them this. Now we're in 2025, and look what we got now, AI.
Yeah. Yeah, it's frightening, isn't it?
Yes.
When you made that comment about one world order, it's all the Bible explains to us in Revelations that one of the signs of the end of days will be the increase of knowledge. What is more knowledgeable than AI? It graphs and pulls and draws from every possible resource, integrates it into its own self. And I want to ask you something, Brian. Do you think that it's already become an entity of its own? Do you think AI is now out of our control?
Yes, certainly. Man,
Yeah,
look at that. Have you seen the eagle eye?
I have.
Okay,
Yes.
eagle eye is exactly what we're facing. Now, you heard of Eric Snowden, I'm sure of.
Of course.
So you realize Eric Snowden is the one that created eagle eye, the technology.
No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay? He
Wow.
created the technology for the government to use for good purposes, and they turn around and start using it to spy on us. And he didn't like it when he found it out. So that's why he came and spoke on it. And that's why the government wants him, but Russia is giving them.
Yeah, welcome to the Patriot Act.
There you go. There you go. Enemy of the state. So
That's exactly
all
right.
things people don't realize is really going on. But the key foundation of it all is the financial system. Okay.
Yes.
The Federal Reserve. Okay. We knew what Abraham Lincoln stated, what was going to happen to us if we let these banks into our system. He said our children's children are going to be born into debt, right?
Yeah.
And look where we are.
Sad.
Everything is dead. People are so confused that every year the politicians and they tell you around October about the deficit.
Yeah, they
that
do.
means we're in the red. Okay, since 1933, we've never paid a bill. We couldn't. There's no fucking money. Yeah. All we have and what we're passing around is IOUs, a promise to pay you when things get better. It's just the people don't know. They think there's true value there. There's no gold back in that money.
Now I see why my friend Victor recommended you for the show, brother. He told me you were really intelligent. I see it.
It's a system of involuntary servitude that everybody's signed up to with the 14th Amendment. Yeah, they abolished slavery. They just made it equal across the fucking board. Everybody's fucking slaves now.
Oh, my God.
We're going to issue you a social security number so we can track your future labor and put a dollar sign with it. And then we can sell it on the securities markets and keep generating money from it, right? Wow. And it's like what they say, you will own nothing and still be happy. Yeah, that's what we see going on right now with BlackRock. How does a private equity firm own 40% of the real estate?
Yeah, right.
They turn everybody into renters.
Okay, one world order, brother. One world order.
There is a prophecy that stated at the signs, another sign of end of times will be information will be so abundantly that it will be at the tips of your fingers.
Yes.
If that ain't a vivid picture somebody painted 100 years ago, 100 years ago, you know, what do you mean the tips of our fingers? But now we have it at the tips of our fingers. Yeah. I mean, it's so explicit. I'm just chiming in on what you said earlier about that information. Yeah, I had to spin that back around, but bro, I'm seeing it. I see it, and it's like some things you can't explain to people, especially when they ain't read anything that forecasted it.
Well, you know, Brian, I remember last year when the godfather of AI was before Congress, and I remember Congress asking him, "Do you think it's already out of control?" And he looked dead in their eyes and he nodded his head and says, "Oh yeah, yeah." And you know, what do you do when you know things evolve? Man evolved from caveman. Man evolved. Now we have a technological society and institutions that are in the reclamation and recreating process right now to allow artificial intelligence to come in and taking it to an even higher plane. Are we looking at the possibility of a Terminator era coming?
Yeah, iRobot. Yeah, all of it.
Have you seen those over in Japan? That show they did last year over there, where that one robot walked in and took control of 12 other robots?
Yep.
Yeah, that was mind blowing. And even the inventors of the robots were sitting there going, "Well, that wasn't supposed to happen." Well, guess what? It's a real concern.
Let's look at that at even a different perspective, right?
Yeah.
Technology has changed warfare.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Look at the drones. Look at drones today.
They can sit in their house, right? In their bed, on their computer, and create havoc.
Yeah, it's very frightening.
Havoc. The biggest thing I fear, to be honest with you, as an electrician, what I know, the biggest thing I fear is the EMP.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I fear right there.
And tell me that isn't being considered by our enemies every single day. You know, they know that's the ultimate. That shuts down all grids, not just some of the grids.
Back to the Stone Ages.
Back to the Stone Ages.
Everybody got to fear for themselves because government cannot save you.
Well, Brian, what do you think about that? Based on your knowledge, your involvement in all of this, what do you think? Do you think that this is a considered concern in the near future, or do you think we still have time?
With the mentality of mankind and those that just have a thirst for power and dominance and
And a self-destructive species that we are.
Man, God knows best, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? He
I do.
This monster in all through all the books of ancient scriptures. You know, he tells you about man. You know,
Yes.
mankind has been very ungrateful. You know, what did they in the Bible a lot? They talk about how stubborn the Jews were.
Yes.
Okay, at the time of Moses, you had Moses. He was a chosen man to lead these people, but every time he would lead them, they just would give him so much hell. You know, the story of him splitting the sea, and they walked through on dry land. I seen an episode on was it I can't think of the show, Discoveries, some National Discoveries on YouTube, and they showed where the scientists that went in the water and was looking under the Red Sea, and they found fossilized chariots and people, and they started to tie. Well, this is where it was parted, and when they said Moses made it across and Pharaoh came out, and then the waters fell on them, and it was like, wow, you know, you see.
I think I saw that recently, actually. So I know exactly. Yeah, you know, I'll tell you something that's really interesting to me too. Is we look at and align the scriptures with what we're at today. You know, you take Daniel, Ezekiel, and Revelations, and you put those three together, and they are the storybook of what's going to happen in the very near future. Right. But getting back to, you're talking about a one world order, and I find that absolutely fascinating. Look at how the politicians are changing the face of the world, specifically America right now. And it's just absolutely interesting to me that some of the people that are civilians working in the political realm, like Elon Musk and some of the others, they're all involved in advanced technology. And the other thing is the resurfacing of information now on the UFO dilemma that we've had since 1943. And where were the UFOs heading? We see that UFOs are being spotted over nuclear sites, military bases. Do you think that they're trying to tell us something? Because if you don't believe that there's other intelligence out there, then you're in the Stone Age.
You're insane to think that we're the only intelligent life form when science is steady discovering new things in the water.
You know, right? Exactly.
The water is where everything is leaking back to. We're 90% water. Shit can't live without water. So what I tell you, water is the source of life. So if this is predominantly water, where do you think the life form is going to be found?
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, you know, we have the grays, we have the blues, we have extraterrestrials that are in custody right now, and people are whistleblowing like crazy, saying this should have been out a long time ago. And what they're doing is they're re-advancing our technology by taking crashed UFOs, and then we go in there and we take the knowledge from what they have created that's probably been around for millions of years, and we're sitting it now, we're sending it and selling it to Boeing, McDonnell Douglas, all of these people that are highly classified in secret places doing this. So now what do? The cat's out of the bag. The world knows that these UFOs do in fact exist. And you know, you being a person that has worked around what you just described with the Facebook warehouses and all that, I can't help but wonder if some of that technology, that advanced technology, has even infiltrated into these civilian corporations, not just militaristically speaking. What do you think?
To an extent, most definitely. And I'm gonna tell you this: with Mark, when we was doing the data center, I realized here recently that we was laying the foundation for the other part of technology, which is Meta. Okay, are you familiar with Meta?
No, I'm not. I've heard the title, but I'm not familiar with it.
Meta is a world inside this world where you can be whatever you want to be. You can go to Meta and have a job in Meta and make money. You can be in Meta sitting in your house and order a pizza, and the pizza will come to your real house.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a movie called The Surrogate with Bruce Willis. Okay. Yeah. That's Meta.
Wow.
Okay.
We're there.
The Surrogate. It came out in, I want to say, the early 90s.
Yeah.
And that's what Meta is right now.
Wow.
You have people that are able to purchase your physical real estate online in Meta
Wow.
and other platforms and make money. Okay. So do this technology is beyond what we can think of, because anything that's released to the public is already was through the government first, right?
Yeah.
So they do reverse engineer this technology, and more things are becoming to light. One of the greatest um, debuggles is right now is the pyramids, right? They want to know how
Yeah.
the pyramids built, and they're still standing. You know, we have roads that are terrible, and
Yeah.
pyramids are still standing. You got ancient cities, these roads are still standing. So we knew there was a higher sense of technology before. We just ain't figured it out yet.
Well, look at the hieroglyphs and the pictoglyphs. I mean, these are people in spacesuits. They're
Right,
showing,
right.
they're showing flying saucers 3,000 years ago that are painted
Yes.
on the wall inside of the pyramids.
Right.
And the precision, brother, the precision of those pyramids, the tonnage, the amount of work that had to be, and to do it exactly and align it exactly, that's far and beyond what man.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now I've seen a theory that they used sound and vibration to move objects.
Wow. Almost anti-gravity.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see the spaceships and you hear those pilots talk about, man, these things are moving in directions and ways we can't fathom.
With no sound at all.
No sound.
No propulsion.
No propulsion.
Yeah.
So,
And here we are.
hey, it's like there. Well, of course, when I was coming up, and certainly when you were coming up, there was science fiction.
Yes.
Not anymore.
Yeah. It's the Dick Tracy days now, bro.
Yeah.
It really is. Well, listen, Brian, before we wrap up the show today, I want you to explain and deliver a message to my audience. The creation of the Crisis Victory is to show people like you and me that came up from something very, very bad and turned our life into something very, very good. And each and every one of us that have gone on that path, we offer something back to humanity. And I already see what you've been offering today and sharing what we need to be looking at, looking forward to happening. And I wonder if you have any advice that you could share with the audience today to let them know other people like you and me that are maybe in prison right now that might get a chance to see the show, people that just came out of the prison system and they're still disillusioned and don't know which direction to go. Why do you think we have a 93% recidivation rate of brothers and sisters that end up going back into the system within the first 1 to 2 years after release? What advice do you have for them, Brian?
Everything starts with a plan. Okay. If you
Beautiful.
Yeah. You failed already.
Yeah,
Okay?
I did.
So having a plan is where it all starts. My main thing, I started small with a 5-year plan. I completed that in 2 years. So I had to go back and reevaluate and do more challenging things. But everything starts with a plan. Okay. Now, everything don't go as planned.
Yeah.
But at least it gives you something to look forward to and prepare for.
A direction.
And direction, because you never know what's going to happen. But taking action has been my biggest thing. Don't get stuck in what they call analysis paralysis, trying to over analyze the situation. Just take action to see what what's the word? What result it's going to produce. That's what I wanted to say. Okay. But yeah, just that's what it all started with me, was just taking a plan. I had a plan. Okay, I'm gonna get a job. All right, once I get a job, okay, I'm gonna start saving money for a place to live, because it's time, I'm staying with my father, and saving up for a car. Just little things, because when you're first coming out, it can be overwhelming, especially with technology.
Well, it is.
Oh man, when I came out, I had a sidekick flip phone type situation. When I came out, they had the iPhone. And they drove me from the El Reno to Texas to the halfway house. And when I tell you, I never looked up and looked around. I was stuck in the phone the whole 4 hours. Wow, what is this?
Yeah, reentry into the society is a real big problem that we see so many people failing in that moment, in that point. And I think a lot of that is fear generated, because it's how do you acclimate yourself to something that you're not familiar with?
Right.
And here, Brian, you were the perfect example of that today. You and I both, when we were in federal prison, we took that time to do our studies, to get focused on a direction. And then what we did was we applied that knowledge and stayed focused on our direction. And I think that's one of the best messages out of all the shows I've done that was given was by you today, Brian. I have nothing but long respect for you. And I want to thank you, Brian, for coming on my show today, sharing your experience. Every one of you out there that got to hear this, just understand you can come out of a bad situation and take that time to create something better for yourself and those that are close to you that you love and care for and want to provide for. But it's like you said, you got to have a goal and then you got to make a plan. Brian, it's been an honor, brother.
Likewise, brother.
Nothing but respect for you. And one of these days I may call upon you to come back on my show again, and I hope you do.
No problem.
And I'll sure be sure to tell Victor thank you. Yeah. Okay, folks. Well, that wraps up another episode today, and I'd like to take this moment to thank each and every one of you for taking your time to catch our show. Now, if you like these shows, I would ask that you would please hit like, share, and subscribe. It's so important to us that we get these messages out, and we understand that these are graphic, almost toxic interviews. But, you know, this is the kind of impact that we feel is needed in order to make sure that people understand the significance of the problems that we are confronted within our own country and around the globe. So I'm going to say at this time that I love you all. God bless you all. Hasta luego, y vaya con Dios, and go.